Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there is John, our resident Millennial. John, how are you doing tonight?
You know what? Tonight I am fan fucking tastic. Just
Whoa,
for you, Robert. Just
whoa,
for you.
stop the presses.
That's not really how presses work anymore.
Don't take the good things away. This is why we can't have nice things.
All things must fall to progress, Robert.
Hey, I see an elephant man and a midget in the chat. That sounds like the opening of a joke. An elephant man and a midget walk into a bar.
Yeah, I guess it does.
It's interesting stuff.
What's
So
the punchline?
I don't know, but
You'd think one of them would have seen it. You know.
ah, ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Now just fill in the gaps.
What? No, there's no gaps. That's it. Two-part joke.
All right. Yeah, dad jokes are better. I mean, I'm just saying. So,
You are a dad joke.
John, you seem like you might be in a semi decent mood this evening. Hey, we've got all sorts of stuff going on to talk about first
We do.
before we get too deep into things. First off, for those of you out there, welcome to the show, and please make sure and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the notification button. Ignore that thumbs down
Jesus.
button. That's broken. We don't want to mess with that.
Right.
That's just three clicks. Boom, boom, boom. But most of them have done at least one of those clicks. Two of those clicks don't have to be redone if they've been done. So, you know, for
Yeah.
most of them, it might only be a one click thing. But if you're over there on D Live, follow us as well. If you're hanging out at any of the other fun places, Twitch or Periscope or even Smashcast, if you're taking a break from the
Or
gaming casting,
even
everything.
Smashcast.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I've lost track of how many, how much shit we're on. Totally forgot about Smashcast.
Okay, all right. So this is probably going to require some context. So we'll stew on this for a minute. But
Hmm.
Ed's in the house. Good to see you, Ed. He
Yeah, I
says
guess it's all right.
I want a cheese pie through a
Through a
fence.
fence.
I think there might be a word missing there, but I'm not sure. It says what could I use to transmit the pie through the fence? So we're going to have
Well,
to stew on that.
so hang on,
No.
because I think you're thinking of the wrong thing. You don't have to go through the fence. Most fences you can just go over. Like we're talking about like a front garden fence. I mean, those are usually like what 4 feet tall, maybe. You can just pass it over. Same with like a privacy fence in the backyard. Those are like 6 feet. You can just reach over and you know put the pizza over. You don't need to go
Okay.
through.
Okay.
I think you're
Okay.
making it more complicated than it needs to be, Ed.
Okay. Hold on. Hold on.
Hmm.
I think I didn't want to approach it right then because we had other things to talk about, but I didn't know if Ed was ready for this. But the truth of the matter is, Ed, you just have all you have to do is realize the truth.
There is no
There
pizza.
is no fence.
Oh, yeah.
There's but anyway, so John, we've got things happening.
Yes.
We've got things happening now. So there's a wide variety of things. So let me see. I think like three things that we want to talk about. So I'm gonna throw them at you randomly, and you off the cuff have to talk about it. Okay? Are you ready?
Oh God. Let's do it. Let me take a
Um,
swig of knowledge real quick.
okay, here we go. Are you ready? Um, August 21st. Go.
Yeah, we're having Jessica Green, I believe was her name on Twitter.
Oh, fail.
Wait, you said? Oh no, that's this. That's
I
this
said August.
Friday.
See, I'm
You said
mixing it up.
August 20th.
I
Yeah.
did.
All right. So yes, that we're having a 12-hour live stream for St. Jude's, which is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be our best one yet. Um, I've got a lot of like crowd participation planned, or audience participation planned. One of those is going to be a sea shanty singing competition between hopefully us and a professional sea shanty group.
You've got feelers out.
Yes, yeah, I do.
John's
Uh,
John's got feelers.
I'll see what I can do. I give it maybe like a 60% chance that I'm gonna get one. So we'll see what happens. But either way, we're doing a song. So either way, you're gonna be able to hear me sing awfully and horribly, and you'll probably instantly regret it.
I regret
Um,
it already.
yeah, and we're also doing a Jeopardy style trivia contest.
Style. I like that.
Yeah, Jeopardy style because it's not Jeopardy, right? That'll be copyright infringement. But we are offering a Amazon gift card to the winner. Yet to be decided, but it will be at least $25. At least. I'm pushing for more, but it will be at least 25.
So it'll probably be 25 because, as we all
It'll
know,
be 26.
John's not very pushy.
That's true, dude. I'm not. I'm not like aggressive. That's why we haven't had any guests in a while. I'm not just out there like
The
bothering everybody.
the kids at St. Jude need you to be very pushy. Cyberbully in the house.
Oh shit. New face, I think.
Once you have really achieved enlightenment, Ed will realize he's lactose intolerant. you know, the
Oh dude. That would suck.
I'm willing to say that Ed knows he's lactose intolerant, but doesn't
Yeah.
care
Yeah, I mean it just
and
makes you fart more.
lets the
Like who
gas
cares?
fly.
Yeah, like who
I
cares if you're lactose intolerant? Just fart, you'll be all right.
Sometimes I'm sure he sits around like 2 hours later and he's just like, "Yeah, that was a good pie. That was a good
Oh,
pie."
gross.
All right, John. Here comes the next thing. I'm going to
Oh
throw it at
shit,
you.
there's
Are you
another
ready?
one.
Are you
All
ready?
right.
July 24th.
July 24th?
Is it the 24th? Yeah,
It
should be.
is the 24th. Yes. I was okay, yeah. Um yeah, that's what I was trying to go with originally. We'll be having LibKit Witch on Twitter, but her name is Jessica Green on Twitter as well, I think.
Well, that's
She's
not confusing.
yeah, I know. I'm not sure what to call her. That's the thing. I guess we'll find out on Friday because she's going to be a guest on our show. I
Right
believe
here.
she's already been on Ed's show.
She's Has she not been on
Um,
ours? She was on our. She was
oh,
on
she
one of our
was on
charity
our.
streams.
That's true, but that was also the one that we had to go over to Ed's channel
Hmm.
for because we were having issues. So she wasn't really on our channel, I would think, unless she was for a second. I
But
don't
she
know.
was there because
Either
of
way.
us,
That's true.
technically.
That's fair. That's fair. No, I think she was there because of Ed. But anyway, she's gonna be here
Here,
for sure to confirm that she has been on the show uh, on Friday, and
smack
that's gonna be cool.
smack talk
What?
will be enabled.
Yes, and yeah, we're gonna talk about like liberty, libertarianism, her journey from the left to where she is now.
I'm probably going to have
Uh,
to get in a healthy chit chat about feminism too.
yeah, perfect.
I'm going to have to rip her
Sounds
apart if necessary.
wow,
You know
because
how it
she
is.
doesn't agree with that anymore.
You know
So
how I am with these
that's pretty
feminists.
rude of you.
I said, well, no, no, no. If she's still, it just depends on where she stands. I mean,
I suppose, but
if she's come around,
yeah, but yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I recommend you be there. I'll be there if that helps your decision on whether or not you want to be there. I'll be there. I think Robert's going to be there too. So I
I'll
mean that might
be
hurt your chances a little bit,
there.
but I'll be there. So
I'll be there.
yeah,
I can't wait. All right, last thing. Subscribe star.
that's right. We have officially sold out.
Yes, baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, I mean, it's something we talked about doing for a long time, and then all my friends did it first. That would be Ed and Steven have both done that, and
Right,
so you
and
know
I
what? I was
thought
like,
we would
"Fuck
be the
it."
first ones to sell out.
Yeah, I just don't want to sell out with too small of a audience. Like that just seems a little. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. It feels dirty. It still feels dirty right now, but you know what? I mean, I want to do this full time as a job. And the only way to do that is to make money doing it. And so, the thing
Eh,
is, let me bring up Subscribe Star real quick, so I can tell you guys what you get because we're not just asking for your money, for nothing. and chicks for free. We are actually offering you guys things. Let me see. Let me find it. Oh my god.
Come on, John. You should know
I
this
know,
stuff.
right? I suck.
John, you should
All
know
right.
this stuff. You're a promo guy.
So we have three tiers. Um, first one is $3 a month, and
That sounds like a
you.
millennial tier.
It is a millennial tier. That's right. We did all of our all of our all of our tiers are generation based. So the base one, $3 per month as a millennial, you're entitled to weekly shows not available to the general public. So we'll be putting on shows that are only for those who follow us on Subscribestar. So that sounds pretty cool, I think, in my opinion at least. It'll just be more of me. I guess more of Robert too, but more importantly, more of me every week. And our $6 per month one, the Zoomer, they not only get the weekly private shows, but they also get to join us in a Zoom meeting for a monthly movie night. So we'll be watching a movie and chit chatting with you guys every month. Once per month, we'll be doing that. Um, Watching some like shitty movie, not a show, not recorded, just hanging out with you guys, and then and watching a movie. And then $9 per month is our boomer tier. Uh,
Boomer?
Boomers get everything that the two tiers get, and also get to be a guest on any show they'd like with a topic they would like to discuss. Now you get that once per month. You get to come on anytime you want, as long as we're doing a show, of course. And yeah, you get
Bring us a
to
topic. Bring
bring us a
yourself,
topic.
and we'll get into a knockdown drag out if you need to.
Yeah, especially if it's
Whatever
something
you
that we
need us to.
disagree with. Whatever you want to, yeah, whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about it.
And we'll say, and
During
we'll do everything to stage it like a good reality shows. Like we'll have all the
right, of
interactions
course.
choreographed. We'll know exactly. Like if you're going to pick up a chair and throw it, we'll have the timing
We'll
set, make
react.
sure
Yeah,
that things are done properly, that kind of thing.
yep. But yeah, so that's what we've got right now. We're open to suggestions. If there's anything else that you guys would want, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. You can DM me on Discord or on Twitter or whatever. Uh, Either way, all those links are in the description, by the way.
Yeah, it's right
So
there. There's a it
yeah.
says subscribe star
So
stuff.
if you're not there, go ahead and do that. If you're not on Discord or follow us on Twitter, you can get a hold of us there. And yeah, the subscribe star link is now in the description as well. So yeah, if anybody wants to do that, if anyone likes us enough, it's there. It's not mandatory, but it is appreciated.
Yeah, it's a thing. All right, so that's our gender for the upcoming.
Upcoming.
It's a nice gender. I have to check my calendar regularly now. I feel like somebody. Now, listen.
Yo.
I don't know if you. So you were
Oh,
telling
Nomvet is in. Sorry, Nomvet is in the D Live chat.
who is
How's it going?
Nonvet?
Nomvet. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't see that. I'm looking at the other chat where they all come in. But when it's just the little gifs, the emojis, whatever,
Yeah, they don't show up
those
on
only show up
Restream.
on screen. They don't actually show in the restream through YouTube, which is weird. But of course, I'm guessing there's a reason for that because YouTube's
Yeah,
afraid of everything. They'll shut you down. Shut you
that's
down.
right. We've been shut down twice,
We
man.
are the twice. What do we get?
Yeah, did one of our episodes get completely removed, and then another one we
Well,
got taken off in the middle of being online.
last week we were taken off completely. I don't know what one got removed. Wait, you
Um,
had one removed because you were on one of your drunk streams because you were
well, yeah,
playing
that was a
music.
copyright thing. Yeah, which is totally understandable.
I
No, we
didn't.
had two of them done, right?
I didn't remember us having another one removed.
Yeah, we had
Well,
the one that Ed ended up ripping for us and sending it to you, and we posted it, and then we had the stream
oh,
just completely
that one
removed.
just shut down. But that one we didn't get any notification on. Something weird happened to that one, so YouTube wasn't streaming it.
Right. That's
But
what it was. Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
was
That's
no,
right.
it wasn't like
That's
it
right. We
wasn't
weren't
them.
taken down that
We
time.
weren't
Yeah.
censored on that one. That was just a foobar thing.
Fair enough.
But so in the last couple of weeks, we had a couple of episodes where we were examining some debunking of libertarian ideas that was going on.
Yeah.
You just told me about this off mic. I didn't realize it, but can you share what you shared with me about
Yeah.
the host of that show?
Yeah. So we were debunking this guy Ben Burgess, who was trying his little heart out. He was trying to debunk the NAP and taxation is theft. But the show that he was doing it on was hosted by a man named Michael Brooks. And I just found out today that that guy Michael Brooks, he just died, which is pretty insane.
Just
Um,
died, right? Like there's
yeah,
not been even any
I haven't seen
official.
any, but I don't follow him. Oh, there's no official thing yet. His family is going to put out a statement at some point in the next few days, I guess. Is apparently he was just taken by a sudden illness. No one said it was COVID, but I mean, who knows? Apparently he went to Brazil in January. So, I mean, maybe he got it from there. Who knows? Or maybe it's just something completely unrelated. I don't know. But yeah,
Just
that
out of
guy.
nowhere. And
Yeah,
those videos we watched were relatively recent, right?
about a year.
About a
Yeah,
year.
little
Gotcha.
over a year. Yeah, from like March of last year.
So that's
Yeah,
just
it's pretty crazy though, right?
bear that in mind, right? Like it's just
Yeah,
a moment in time, right? And then boom.
that's right. And then you're gone.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
will remember
that
you on Twitter for a few minutes, and then you're gone forever.
yeah, it's like whew.
Yeah.
But now, so let me ask you this, John.
Hmm.
You know, you when you say that, um, how important is it to you in your life to leave something behind?
It's something that enters my mind once in a while. Um, that I do want to leave something behind, and that's kind of what this podcast is. I mean, obviously, that's not my motivation for starting it, but I mean, this is something that it's my at least half of my work. That's being on the internet as long as the internet exists. You know, uh, I kind of like that idea that even long after I'm gone, people can come watch me be a fucking idiot on the internet.
So, 200 years from now, and people looking back at like old history of shit, and maybe they'll
Hmm.
pass over yours, and whatever the
Right? They'll
case may
just come
be,
across it.
maybe
Yeah.
you'll be there. Um,
Maybe I'll be pushing libertarian ideas in 200 years. When libertarianism is like gone and
when
old
it
and
finally catches on.
no, that's what I'm saying is it's not going to. That's what
No,
I'm saying. It's yeah.
it's going to take at least
When no one
that
even
long,
knows what that is,
right?
like I'd be pushing it still. It's kind of a nice feeling.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, this idea of legacy and things like that. I mean, if you really think about it, this just like this absolutely infinitesimal small percentage of people
Hmm.
leave an impact on this planet or on this, on us as humans, right? Like if you look at history, out of the billions of people that have cycled through over the years, thousands of years, how many are actually memorable historically, etc.?
Right. Not many.
Right? There's, one in a million, 1 in 10 million people are, stand out through the annals of time. And so you have to ask yourself, I mean, how monumental would something you do have to be to enter that?
I mean, it basically has to be world changing.
Right. Do
Yeah.
you expect something like that out of yourself in your life?
No, I'm not motivated enough, and I don't have like the work ethic that it would take to have that kind of effect. Now, there are always times where something will accidentally happen and someone will change history, but I mean, that happens to so few people. That it's a momentous occasion when it does happen. I mean, like fewer people than are remembered, right? I mean, fewer people accidentally do something great
Well,
than people who intend to.
so I from a historical standpoint, I would think that there's a fine line between people who changed history and people who impacted history, right? There's
Well, I
a
mean,
different
I
there's a
guess
difference there, right?
what I should say is they're changing the course of history. But having an impact, I guess, is different than changing the course of history.
See, because like I look at somebody like say Napoleon. Did he change
Hmm.
history? Because some people do, like they change how they like there's inventions or there's discoveries that change how people will do things moving forward. So they change the scope of history. But other people impact it or affect it. Like that's where somebody like Napoleon, did he do something groundbreaking that he changed history that, or did he
Mm.
just have an impact on it? So,
No, I mean
we
he had a
remember him because of
massive
that.
impact. I mean he was Hitler before Hitler was cool. So like when people say, "Oh, he's the next Hitler," he's the next, he's acting pretty like Hitler. Before Hitler was around, they were saying that about Napoleon, right? So he was the Hitler before Hitler was around.
Well,
Um,
I guess he changed the future for a lot of people, didn't he?
well, he certainly changed the future for a lot of people and denied a lot of people their futures, through war, killing people and whatnot. Um, Now, did he change the course of history? I mean, he certainly changed France's course of history.
Right.
I mean, if it wasn't for him, they probably would have been invaded at one point and taken over, probably finally by the English, um, despite their trying for like 1,000 years. Uh, because like without Napoleon, France's military would have been nothing. I mean, what they tried to invade. What was the country they tried to invade before Napoleon came about? Um, I can't remember the name. I can't remember who it was now because it was like one of the Prussian states, I believe. It was before. I'm blanking on it now. Maybe someone in the chat will help me out. But yeah, their army was just awful, just absolutely awful. And then Napoleon came in and pretty much changed everything. And he was like probably one of the first people to put an emphasis on artillery, which was really smart on his part. It served him very well during his campaigns.
I should have never mentioned Napoleon, should I?
Well, you literally asked
No,
for
I
it.
picked the
You
wrong
look
person.
what you're wearing. You literally asked for it.
Yeah.
I just can't remember the name of the place that was invaded. That was all. That's gonna bother me now until
Waterloo?
I
No.
no. That's not a country.
You
I
you
know.
talk
I
about
know.
Napoleon invading and this, that, and the other, and the first thing I'd think is, ABBA. Um,
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
but so something I wanted to mention, Midget had shared
Yeah.
this
See,
out in
Midget's got it. Napoleon ended the reign of terror and set up a meritocracy. Yeah, like I said, he did change the course of history in France for sure. It was just what else? Like the course of human history.
Well, see,
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things he did. Yeah, he did end the terror, which was nice because that would have gotten them fucking conquered if they had kept that up.
that brings that makes me ask the question. Okay, what is the benchmark for changing the course of history, or just impacting history? And it's
I mean,
it's like it's the benchmark how many people you affect, how many people you change the future for,
I don't
because
think
he
there's
impacted a
one
lot of fucking people.
oh yeah, but I don't think that there's like a set definition or a distinction even between impact and changing the course of history. Mainly because historians will have their own ideas of what that
Right,
is and will argue with each other endlessly
right,
about it.
yeah, but it it's I guess it always comes down to, if he hadn't died or he hadn't lost, you look at anybody like Hitler. Okay, so if Hitler hadn't died, what would have been, or if Hitler wasn't around, what would the world be like if he hadn't ever been there?
Hmm.
You know, what
Yeah.
what would the world be like? What would have happened in that region? Would Hitler not have been there? Or take Napoleon. What if Napoleon had never been born? How
Yeah.
impactful was he to the global, the present day? Right? I mean, because some
Yeah.
of these
No, I mean
guys,
it's
some of
huge.
what they did it still has impacts today.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's a lot of Napoleonic ideas or things that are still followed in France to this day. It wouldn't surprise me,
Yeah. Probably.
Um,
I mean,
so,
he was a product of the Enlightenment, so I
meaning,
mean,
so
yeah,
is that like a woke period? Am I correct? The
pretty much.
Enlightenment,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Enlightenment was like
It was
a
it was like the original woke period.
right.
Yeah.
It's like a documented woke period. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many of those have we had?
Ooh, man. I would say Hellenic Greece was another one. I'm not sure. I'm sure there was a time in between that I'm blanking on, but that was the first one that came to mind. All like the Greek philosophers, your Aristotle's and Plato's, and um, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure there was a time during the Middle Ages that was big on. I guess the Magna Carta is a good example of that. Um, while it didn't really do much for the average person at the time, it set the foundation for what we see as rights now.
I was just going to say, would you agree that these periods were times when people were waking up to the level of control that was enacted upon them?
I don't think it's about the level of control. I think it was about what was controlled and why.
Okay,
It's like the Magna Carta, was basically what it did was it set up so that the nobles could not have their land just taken away from them at the whim of the king. He had to be tried by a council of his peers, which is where we get that um, uh, due process
right.
from. That was the foundation of due process. Was that you had to be tried by a jury of your own peers. Well, they would have a couple other nobles come around and they would have a trial. Now, obviously, there were times when they had the trial without that person, the guilty, person present. So they had him without him. But the idea itself was solid enough that it carries to this day. Um, so yeah, there was that not being able to take the property without trial, which I think was one of the biggest ones. And I'm trying to think of other examples from the Magna Carta, but I'm blanking on it now. It's been a long time since I've looked at it, but yeah, yeah, that's basically where that comes from. Genghis Khan's genetics has been passed down through the centuries. Yeah, I think it was something like you have a 0.01% chance of being related to Genghis Khan, which is like higher than most any other human that has ever existed.
That
Yeah.
just tells me the boy was popular.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he was popular.
Because
I
I
don't
mean,
know how
well,
much say the women had in
right.
what he was. Yeah.
Well, let's see if we could think of a present day example. Hugh Hefner. No.
Well, I mean, the girls wanted to, they weren't raped. They weren't conquered and then raped by Hugh Hefner, most likely.
Hey, it is what it is, bro.
Yeah, see, Khan has something like 168 million descendants. Yeah, dude
Hmm.
was uh, dude was busy.
Busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
conquering the known world and
It's amazing
everyone.
how he had time for it all. Like, was he boning on the horse traveling from location to location? It's
I think after conquering a village and set it to the torch, and he'll just. You just started fucking,
Sure, but there's a lot of wasted time from one village to the next when you're
maybe.
on the move. So
I mean,
why not?
maybe he's just really quick. Maybe he's he's premature ejaculator, and he just
Do you think maybe that's
one
it?
pump
Like he was
could
just
be.
he was just constantly done in 30 seconds,
Yeah, one dump pump or one
and
pump dump.
and
You
that's what
know.
made him so angry and why he wanted to conquer the world was he was like
Yeah.
he's like I'm just going to rape as many women as I can. If it's only going to be 30 seconds, I'm going to do it 150 times a day and make it worthwhile.
That's right.
That's the kind of guy that looks at Magic Johnson and goes, "Ho, ho." You know who Magic
Why? Because
Johnson is?
because he has AIDS. Like why?
No, because Magic Johnson was has slept. He had slept with so many women, which is one of the reasons they attribute to him contracting HIV was just the sheer amount of women he was
Because
sleeping
of how
with.
many women he was with. Right.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Women.
No, no, no. This was after it stopped being a gay disease. So
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, once it it was discovered with him after you know it was okay for heterosexuals to get it.
Yeah, you better be sorry, Elephant Man. What the hell? The hell are you doing at work? Jesus, you
You're
knew we were gonna
sorry
be
at
on.
work? Why would you be sorry at work? If you don't love your job, get a new one, man. I mean, I'm just
Right.
saying. I mean, if you're sorry at work, sounds like
How
I
dare
don't
you?
know. Shit, I get a job pushing a broom as a janitor if it was that bad, you know.
Dude, that does actually sound nice and relaxing.
It is a I'm just saying. I wouldn't I
Yeah.
would I it, would- you would have to do it at the right place though.
At the right time is what you'd
Well,
have to do.
the right place and the right time. Because I mean, if you think about it, you don't want to be a fucking janitor at a school. Even if you're just going in and
Yeah.
cleaning up at the end of the day,
Oh,
you
especially
don't.
then.
Yeah, you don't want to be a janitor at a school.
Yeah.
There are better places to be a janitor. I see Nephilim
Yeah.
Ninja in the
Oh shit,
house.
sure, women. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Um, but
Hope you
you know,
guys are
if
well. We are well, thank you, Nephilim. I hope you are well as well.
you know
As
who
well.
you know who I'd want to be, I want to be the floor buffer guy at a high rise.
It does sound kind
That
of
all he
awesome.
does it's like it's like a 40, 50 story building, and all he does all day long is just take that thing from floor to floor, buffing the floors. And by the time you get all the way down through the building, guess what you've got to do?
Gotta go start again.
Start again, right?
Yeah, fuck that then. I mean, then you can't sleep. You're just buffing all the
No, no,
time.
no, no. You take your breaks. You get it down into a pattern to where you're getting them all done at least once a month or once every 2 weeks, depending on how fast they go. Boom. Start working in the downtime. Where you can slip off. I mean, nobody. They're not going to know which floor you're on from day to day. They're not looking for you as long as the floors are staying polished. They don't give a fuck what you're doing.
It's true.
And think, every floor is going to have a place to break off and go.
Go
Supply
dick around.
closet, this,
Yeah.
that, or the other, whatever, right?
Just sit there and argue with some idiot on Twitter for a while, you know.
Right? I mean, and then you go and you buff floors. You get to wear headphones because it's loud.
Yeah.
It's making noise, vibrations, whatever. So you listen to stuff you want all day long. Hell, you can even mount a little screen right there on the front of it and just watch shit if you want.
Yeah.
You know, come
That
on,
does sound pretty good,
that's a
man.
cake fucking job right there,
Hell yeah.
and it'll pay well.
It'll pay decently,
I
depending
mean,
on where you go, yeah.
well, yeah. I mean, now you're looking at high rises. It just makes sense to go to some place like New York, but they
Ugh.
pay service people well. Fucking garbage men make six figures a year in fucking New York. I don't want to hear it. There's good money to be
That's
made
because
there.
sanitation is run by the mob.
Is that what it is, Mister?
It actually
I
was. I don't
read
know. I don't know if it still is, but it was though
Mister.
for
I read
sure.
too many dime store novels.
It was for sure. I don't know if it still is, but it was for sure. They were union.
Do you
It
like
was like the union things. They were all up in the union.
Do you like Pulp Fiction? Never.
Yeah, great movie.
No, 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 no. Reading Pulp Fiction. Have
Oh
you ever read
no.
any Pulp Fiction?
Well, obviously, I don't know what Pulp Fiction is. So
Well, Pulp Fiction they were small, short novels, little stories. Usually crime dramas, some sort of thing like that. Little story like Pulp Fiction kind of was, that
Yeah,
little
it's a
story.
collection of short
Some of
stories,
them,
all that end up at the together
well,
at the
not
end.
short
Or
stories.
they
Some
all
no, they're just short stories themselves, short
gotcha.
novels. So figure, I don't know, it's somewhere, but like anywhere from I don't know, call it 35,000 words upwards to 100,000 words tops.
Yeah,
So which is going to average somewhere 100 to 150 pages. Something along those lines, maybe 200 most. Not big
yeah,
stuff, but they
right.
were made on pulp paper in the early days. That's why they were called pulp fiction because of the type of paper they were made on. But you pick them up real cheap back in the day, and cool little stories and stuff, right? Some people got off the chain with them, the little odd, weird stories, and then other times some people would, they were just real straightforward stories,
Hmm.
detectives and PIs and shit like that.
Like an old noir.
But
But
so
yeah, man.
Elephant Man is bringing
Yeah.
up a good point. So let's jump on this real quick. Hey, yeah. So there was a judge, and she had a visit on Sunday from a FedEx delivery guy, and her son went to the door, and the FedEx delivery guy unloaded on her. Her name was Judge Salas. That's correct. And then the
And you mean
father
literally unloaded on her, or not on her
on the
son?
son, right?
Yeah.
Unloaded on the son with a gun. The father heard this, came running to see what was going on, and was subsequently gunned down as well. Last known in critical condition in the hospital. The judge was downstairs in her basement, and one of the interesting things about the judge was she was recently handed a civil trial case that has associations with the Jeffrey Epstein case, and
Oh,
Deutsche Bank and money that was being laundered, etc., and how it was handled. But it's a civil case. Now, uh, there's a immediately, of course, because of that case, the speculation runs rampant that this had something to do with Epstein, which
well, wouldn't it? I
one would
mean, do
expect
you
that it
blame
would,
him?
right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, the police had made no. At the time the article was put up in Discord, the police had no subsequent idea of what the shootings and why the shooting had occurred. Mainly because both the wife and the husband were high profile. She being a judge, him being a prosecutor, um, prosecuted many cases in his career. Over 30 of them were actually murder cases that he prosecuted, etc. But now, apparently, and this is from a New York Times article that was
Keep talking real quick. I'm gonna take a piss again.
okay, from a New York Times article that was posted tonight um, at 9:11 p.m. And I'm going to see. I think I can. Can I? Yeah. So there is a link to the article, but it appears that they have found Roy Den Hollander, a self described anti feminist lawyer who flooded the courts with seemingly frivolous lawsuits that sought to eliminate women's studies programs and prohibit nightclubs from holding ladies' night. Now, this is how the New York Times opens the article. But anyway, long story short, he was found dead of an apparent suicide. Um, not far, about 2 hours away from the judge's home near Liberty, New York. Apparently, he shot himself in an apparent suicide. He had a package. It said it packaged, but the package was empty with the judge's name on it. He also had uh, the New York State's Chief Judge Janet M. DeFiore. He had her name and photo in his car as well, which the FBI followed up and contacted her. Um, and then investigators were exploring whether or not he had decided to take out some of his enemies, given his cancer diagnosis that he found out not too long ago. Uh, that he was doing taking out enemies before he died. They're trying to see if there's a connection to between him and another killing that happened just recently as well. Um, but he the only thing that I've had trouble because I was got this article right before we went on um, is that while they found him in his car, they found these things in his car, and they're trying to tie him to another judge. The other judge's name was a message, uh, according to Midget. But they haven't said anything about him as the FedEx suit, the uniform being in his car. Um, but they believe that he's involved. This was the second of at least three things that he was going to do because the other person, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to find where they called out his name. Um, he was also killed by someone in a FedEx uniform. That was the thing that ties the two of them together.
How long ago was the first one?
Just recently, and that's why I'm sorry. I'm trying to locate it in the
Yeah,
article
yeah.
as I'm talking and speaking at the same time.
I
Um,
understand. Chewing bubblegum and walking at the same time are very difficult.
so
This
yeah,
runs too deep, says Elephant Man. Yeah. It seems, I don't know. It's the timing is what does it for me.
here it is.
It's the timing.
Right.
I
Uh,
don't know, dude.
It says that two law enforcement officials cautioning that the investigation was in its earliest stages said federal authorities were examining whether Mr. Den Hollander might be linked to the July 11 killing of another men's rights lawyer, Mark Angelucci, in San Bernardino County, California. Mr. Angelucci was shot at his front door by a gunman wearing a FedEx uniform, one of the officials said.
Hmm.
So that is, again, there needs to be more information on Angelucci um, as to
Yeah, was he
whether or
about
not
to
he was
investigate something to do with Epstein too, or like what's the deal with him?
whether whether or not he was going to investigate something or how much interaction they had had in New York, because if the whether or not giving credence to this being an enemy. That's the only thing is mainly is nothing in this says it doesn't say that he was 2 hours away, dead in his car in the FedEx uniform. It didn't say that, so that's what I've been trying to go through this
Right, but
article and
he had
just
apparently, from another article that I read, I can't remember who it was from, but yeah, he apparently was wearing the FedEx uniform. Like came to the door, uh,
right,
under the basically
right,
under the premise that he's a FedEx
right,
delivery guy.
right,
Yeah,
but the main thing is I kept expecting them to say that he was wearing the uniform in the car or the uniform was there in the car because otherwise, he's just a guy that has an association with these people that suicided himself. And I'm like, the uniform is the key here. The
yeah,
uniform, the gun. You didn't say that the gun was tied, but of course, maybe they're still investigating whether the gun is the same gun, but
right.
still
Yeah, they're
didn't
not going to
seem.
have anything for a little while, for a couple days, maybe in a week. But we're not going to hear another thing about this at
Well,
all.
you know,
It's
eh,
not going to be. Yeah, we're not going to hear anything, any follow up at all.
yeah, see there, and that's where the question comes in. And I don't want to get into too much conspiracy on this because we know how that troubles some people. Um,
Oh, those people aren't here, so that's
they're
fine.
always watching Wazowski, always watching. So, no, I don't know. It's are they? Do they? You know, we have to. You have to find out. We've got to find out more information about uh, the guy that was killed in San Bernardino, California. So why was he
Yeah,
killed, right? What was he associated with that he was killed? Or, oddly enough, was he associated with this guy who they were planning on scapegoating for the actual killing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It becomes this whole, how deep, how many layers of chess are we playing here? Is this just, 2D, 3D, or 4D? How deep does it go? But there may not be any depth to it at all. This may just be the simple fact that some guy, but they don't have a manifesto. They don't have a,
Right.
you know,
I
a,
mean,
a suicide note. They just have a guy.
yeah, I mean, it could be that this is just a personal enemy of this guy, but the timing of it is what throws that into question.
I mean, the New York Times goes on to list a long history of this guy's interactions. And then
Sure.
he's got a 1,700 page book that he just put out on the internet. Um, so it's one of the things. Here's something he has to say. The only problem with a life lived too long under feminazi rule is that a man ends up with so many enemies he can't even the score with all of them. He can't even the score with all of them.
Hmm.
But so it's really interesting that this New York Times article goes a long way to indicting him, but
Yeah, it
I'm
goes a long
seeing,
way in trying to distance him from it being about
well,
Epstein.
no, 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 to make him right, to not
Yeah.
distance him, but make him the focal point, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Distancing him from
We're,
the idea that this
oh,
judge was, marked because of the Epstein thing.
um,
Saying, no, 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 look, there's all this other stuff that points to it
right.
not being about that. It's just another happy coincidence. That's all.
Well, no, they say that he just recently, Elfman says he put out a 1,700 page book, My Behind. No,
You
it's,
can
yeah,
Elephant Man.
right
You can
here it
say
says,
ass in the chat. It's okay.
it says in one of his most recent cases, he seized against federal judge in New Jersey, Esther Salas. He was pissed off at her, who he described in a self-published 1,700-page book as a lazy and incompetent Latina judge appointed by Obama. So,
Yeah, see, they're trying to paint him as some like right wing, like not Nazi, but like racist
nut
and
job, nut job.
yeah, nut job
Back in the
basically.
day, we just called them nut jobs.
Yeah,
That's what they tried to make you into, was a
I don't
nut
know,
job.
dude. It all seems very coincidental.
He had vendettas.
I'm sure he did. Everyone has vendettas, even if they try to say that they don't. Most people have a vendetta against someone.
Yeah, but he's willing to do something about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Um, so
Or
it'll
at
be
least be paid to do something about it.
now.
Just happened to be
This
someone who wanted to go after, and that government check was fat. You know,
now I will say this: this could just be an elaborate marketing campaign that he's doing here to sell more of his book.
but I mean, he allegedly shot himself.
Well, maybe he's got someone to leave his estate to.
I guess
Maybe maybe
maybe he
he's
cares more about that.
he's like
Seems to me like somebody was tying up a loose end after the job was
what
done. I don't
what
know.
what sells a self-published book like go
Like the death of the
running around
author.
and killing some
Yeah,
people and then setting yourself on
and then
fire
offing
in
yourself.
effigy, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that would do it, but you're not gonna be around to, you
Well,
know.
like I said, he had cancer, so what did he have to lose,
Yeah, nothing.
right?
I mean,
I mean,
right.
he
Which is what makes him perfect for
now
taking
there's
out,
there's absolutely no way he would have sold himself out to be made a scapegoat, right? There's no way there's like House of Cards level stuff going on in this, right?
Well, I never watched that show, so I have no idea.
Dude, you should watch it sometime. I'm just
Nah,
saying.
nah,
The reason I say is because I'm like,
nah.
holy shit!
No.
You talk about 4D chess. Watch Kevin
Yeah,
Spacey go. Watch
you
Kevin
know it
Spacey
says
go.
that it says to do that in the script, right? Like things don't normally work out
Right, but the
in
way,
the way that you plan them to work out.
still, it's I. not everything goes according to plan in this
I
show
yeah,
either, right? I'm just
I'm
saying,
sure.
the way it's executed, it's just like holy shit. If anything near this level is going on in actual real world politics, I'm scared. I'm
Elephant
like,
Man seems to think that there is House of Cards stuff happening. So, I mean, he would probably know better than I do if he's watched the
Elephant Man,
show.
you've watched the show, am I correct? Give me a
Yeah,
thumbs up, give me something, because I mean, I'm just saying, it's next. There's some next level thinking that went on in that.
I did finally start
Amazing
watching.
writers.
I did finally start watching The Witcher, which I was way behind on. It took me about 6 episodes to realize that I didn't really like the show,
Which show?
The Witcher.
Uh, I wasn't thrilled. I
Yeah,
tried to watch it twice and I wasn't thrilled with it. I don't know if
yeah.
it was him or if it was just, I don't know what it was.
I think it was the feminist messaging that
Hmm.
was really shitty.
It's getting really heavy these days.
Yeah, because like all the leaders were female, and they were always like, oh, in this male world, like, I mean, it's like, bitch, you're all of you are in charge. What are you
Right?
fucking talking about,
Right?
male world?
Right?
Like, all the queens are women.
Right?
What the fuck are you talking about? There's no patriarchy here to be found. You are
Right?
the patriarchy. Like, it was just so stupid. Um,
Yeah,
it was,
it is
it
kind of
had, I mean,
okay.
it passed my very strict 2 episode rule, where if you don't have me in 2 episodes, I don't continue. Um, and it piqued my interest just enough to watch the third, fourth, and fifth episode, and then it's just like in the middle of the sixth episode, I was just like, I can't, I'm just not interested. I'm not invested in the characters or those plot. Like, I just
Right.
don't care. You know.
Um, Elephant Man makes a good point, and why I recommend watching it is because this it is impossible to watch it and not make this correlation at some point. Um, is that Frank and Claire, the
Mhm.
president and first lady, are exactly like Bill and Hillary. Exactly how people think things are with them. Like all
Hmm.
these people that have suicided or been that have died around them. Like you watch House of Cards, if you're watching it through that lens, you're like, holy shit. So so how much
Hmm.
of this is plausible? you know,
Yeah.
like
I mean, if you're willing to okay a drone strike through text message while you're in line at Starbucks, I think you could easily order the assassination of a dissident or somebody that you don't like, somebody who's gonna tell on you. I think you could do that pretty easily.
well, I'm
I
just
mean, just
saying,
saying.
subway trains move fast. You got to watch it. See, Elephant Man.
Yeah,
See, it's he agrees with me. It's not like even that you're like feeling all conspiracy theory. It's just like when you see it happening, like when you get that, we'll call it a quote unquote behind the scenes look at it.
but it's
Through a
not
show.
that.
I
Yeah,
know it's just a show.
it is
But
just a show.
the thinking
Like,
that went into it means that there are people that that can think like this. There are
yeah,
other people that think like this, not just writers
right.
of television shows,
And
right?
thinking of something and planning something are
Sure.
one thing.
But
It's the execution of it
when you look back
that
at the
falls apart.
when you look at back at the conspiracy theories that surround the Clintons, it is
Hmm.
easy to draw parallels with this show.
Sure.
It is
Yeah.
so easy. And that's why I'm saying just like getting that, as I said, quote unquote, air quotes, that behind the scenes look at it where you're seeing how the deals are pulled off and what the evil plotting actually is that goes on behind it. It's like fuck, and they're doing all of this under the veil of law, you know, and
Yeah.
and politics and fuck. Because I'm serious, there were moments where it was just like, wow, that just
Yeah.
happened. That just happened. And then I'm picturing it. I'm like, there was that one time where they said that this happened, and everyone said no. It was a random thing, and it just happened. And it's like, but he was awfully close to some people, wasn't he? you know. And then you look at something like Epstein. You know, I'm just saying, it was sloppy. That was a sloppy job.
Yeah.
That is what brings so much into question. I mean, But on the flip side, uh, is the fact that well, they are that sloppy, and no one has called it anything besides a suicide.
Well, none of the media. Yeah.
Well, right, but I mean,
Right.
it's not even being investigated. Like like
Of course it's not.
really investigated. Yet there are
Of
so
course
many.
not.
There's so many holes in it.
Yeah, of course.
Just absolute holes in it. I don't know. I don't know. It's amazing to me. Maybe that was a test just to see how sloppy they could be and still get
See,
away
I
with it.
no, no, no. I don't put it at a genius level like that. No, it's they hired the wrong guy. Probably it was more opportunistic. He was probably able to get in somehow, into the prison easier and botched the job.
But I mean, there were
It's not
multiple.
like he's walking down, down an alleyway in the middle of the night somewhere. It's much easier to be clean about that. But I mean, the dude's in a prison. I mean, they're pretty secure facilities. I think it'd be a lot harder to stage a suicide there than it would be in a dark alley or somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it's like Elephant Man says, about House of Cards. It says, all of it is plausible. It just doesn't seem likely. And that's the really key
Yeah,
thing is like you can watch it and you go, okay, yeah, I get that this is a television show and it's over
yeah.
dramatized. But then I turn around and I look at something like Epstein and I realize that they did very similar things in that show pre Epstein, where it was just
Right.
like they literally made shit go away
Well, I mean, the
in the
Clinton body
media.
count has been around for a while,
Yeah,
well before
sure,
Epstein.
right.
I mean, that's been a known thing for a while,
So it's just
decades.
that's why I say if you buy into that at all, or if you consider that somewhat legitimate, it makes House of Cards worth watching.
Mm,
That's why I say it makes it worth
I don't
watching.
know.
Plus, I don't care what anybody says. Kevin Spacey's a good fucking actor, and
Yeah, of course he
he
is.
plays this role to the fucking hilt. And it pissed me off that they pulled him from that show, thereby
Of course they did.
destroying the last season. I haven't even watched it. That's how destroyed
I
it was.
wouldn't. Yeah,
It was so destroyed I haven't even watched it, and it was destroyed simply because you took him away. I knew you
yeah.
were going to delegitimize him in the last season, but because of all the other shit, which got so convoluted and he said bullshit that it basically he was he's not he was proven not to be such a bad guy. I mean, he was you know he thought the kid was who the kid said he was, right? But
Elephant Man makes a good point here. Well, you can't go around grabbing men by the pussy. It's
right,
true.
right.
It's just not a good thing to do.
Hashtag he too, right? But yeah, I
No,
mean,
men don't count when it comes to sexual abuse. Come on. Sexual harassment or any of that. Men
right.
don't count. Come on. Don't be silly.
Yeah, it's when that is the most striking, right? Is when you see like a hot teacher
Mm-hmm.
going
Yep.
a hot female teacher going up on charges for statutory rape,
Yep.
and you have to the thought goes through your mind at some point, the boy isn't the one pressing the charges. The boy
Well,
didn't say
yeah.
shit. That
Well, hang on. The boy definitely said shit. The boy definitely bragged.
well, maybe that.
For one, come
Yeah,
on.
made the mistake of
Come
bragging.
on
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
I mean, but it's like, you know what? That boy wasn't seeking charges.
No, no, certainly
Because I've
not.
seen some
Yeah.
teachers brought up on charges here in the last
Yeah.
decade or two, and it's like, oh, please tell me that boy was upset that he was banging his teacher.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
mean,
remember two teachers where I was like, oh no, no, I don't, I would have
yeah.
no. I'm not pressing charges. Fuck that. I'm not
I
pressing
remember
charges.
one in particular that any boy in my school would have been down. Her name was Miss Fisher. She was my
Oh,
math teacher.
great name too.
She was like 24. Like it was her first class like that she had herself
Right.
right out of college. Yeah.
And
So I was
isn't
like
it?
15. She was like 24. I was
She
like,
was
ooh.
hot. She was
Oh
hot,
hell yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And isn't it great that they have a name that doesn't suit their hotness? So it's like, oh yeah, because you can say, oh yeah, I remember Miss Fisher,
Miss
and
Fisher.
people are
Yeah.
like, oh that's creepy, and it's like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever, dude.
But I know what she looked like, right? I know.
It was funny too because there was one time it was during lunch, so we were all in like the cafeteria, and she was there too, and she was like eating a banana, and like all the boys at my table were like staring at her, watching. She saw that we were staring, and was like, and then like walked away. Yeah, she left, but because she's just sitting there like, oh.
Now we had. I don't. Whenever I was young growing up, it wasn't until I got into high school that I actually started seeing attractive teachers. Whenever I left Oklahoma and went to Georgia,
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
that was because now there were, from what I understood, there were some attractive ones at the high school, but you didn't transition to the high school in Ramona till 10th grade, right? So
Right, you did the whole junior
right,
high thing, right?
right.
Yeah,
So
fucking Yankees.
but I do remember that there was one teacher that came, and it wasn't that she was hot, but apparently she was freaky. She just, I mean, looking back on it, I'm like, okay, she was kind of a freak, and it was really interesting because she came and she had like red permed hair, like
Like
she
a
had,
fro, like a
yeah,
ginger
it
fro.
was natural ginger fro. She was a ginger, right? And
Mm-hmm.
tall and thin, and long arms, long legs, that kind of thing. Little nubbies. But the irony was that we had a science teacher, who was a biology teacher, and he looked exactly like her, just the male version of her. And he always wore, like, he was still holding on to the 70s look with the broad collars and
Mm.
what did they call them with the pants, the
I thought you were gonna say like
slacks.
a sweater vest or
No,
something.
like the dress slacks and a colorful shirt with a broad, that those big wide collars and stuff.
Hmm.
Like he was go to a disco. He would dance at a disco. Think, John Travolta.
John Travolta.
Yeah. But those two, like, it was like instant. Those two were just, and then it was Mr. Allen and her. They were together from that, very quickly. And
Is that
people would
what made
always
her
talk about,
freaky?
yeah, no, because just the way they dressed and the way they talked and the way they acted, and they were like, I don't know,
Like
man. It was just
siblings?
like, it was like at any moment they could just break into a disco number and do some cocaine and party down. Looking back on them now, I'm like thinking about the way they used to act and the way they used to do things. But both very smart, teachers. It was weird. But that was
What's
about the
funny?
hottest teacher we had there, and it was just because of that edge.
I had an English teacher in when I was in military school who came to class stoned like every day,
No way.
completely stoned.
See,
Like
that's
you
what a
could
lot of people
tell
said about Mr. Allen.
his eyes would be all glassed over, and he'd be like, "Hey, what's up, guys? Like we're doing this." Like he was big into poetry and stuff. He actually read my poem out loud to the class. That was very embarrassing, but it was very
Nice.
good. So, but yeah, that was super embarrassing though.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but he really read in a very monotone, like
Right.
don't like standard stone chill voice. Like it was just really funny.
Um,
He was
I
stoned all the time.
I had a teacher like that when I did move to Georgia, and it was for chemistry, and everybody called him Catfish, uh, because I don't know, I don't
He
know
had
if he had,
whiskers, like
well, it looked, he literally looked like he might have had Mongolian blood, but it was hard to tell if it was just that
like
or
because he
that
had a Fu Manchu or something.
well,
Like
because he had dark hair and everything, but he let his mustache, what grew
yeah,
was just right here,
Fu
and it
Manchu.
came down along the sides, like, and he looked like a catfish.
Yeah, the Fu Manchu. That's what that's called
But
when it goes
it
down like
it
that.
it wasn't like he could grow anything else because the rest of his face looked bare. Like, and it wasn't because he shaved. Like he would never get shadow or anything. Like it was just like all he could grow was like these 30 hairs on each side, and like the ones that were down the side were just really long hairs. Like it was literally all he could grow. It looked like, but they would call him Catfish. But
Makes sense.
he would teach classes, and his eyes would always be half closed and looked really red. But
Hmm.
and he would talk like he had a mouthful of mush and
Yeah.
chemistry argon is a fucking and
I mean,
this
if
and
you're
it's
teaching chemistry, yeah, you're gonna be. It's a pretty boring subject. You probably want to be stoned for that.
so. But then looking back, I'm like, now him being a chemist, was he on weed or had he just cooked up something special for himself? Right? Because you know all the good recipes if you're a chemist, if you're worth your
Yeah, but
salt.
you'd think that if it was something that good, that he would have like sold it and made it something that people knew about. I mean, you think he wanted to be a teacher forever? I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe that was cool for him. I don't know.
Some people, look, if I, to be honest with you, I would rather teach, I'd rather teach writing than do writing.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things. So yeah, you never know. I mean, he might have just been happy in his own little world. He always looked happy, like, well, he always looked the same. You couldn't tell really if he was. I mean, it was odd when he
Yeah.
smiled. It was like, did he just smile? Is that
See,
what that was?
I thought about becoming a teacher, but like I hate kids. And like I don't want to teach someone who doesn't want to be there. You know what I mean? Like it's just a waste of my time and breath.
Well, I mean, teaching people to grow a beard is a pretty limited audience in the first place. So it's like, how
I
far
don't
can you
think so. There's
go?
a lot of people who can benefit from that sort of
N- Well,
knowledge.
you know, you know what? There you go. There's where you could really have some fun, just to see. Test, advertise that you're going to offer a class on beard growing for women,
Hmm.
and see how many women actually sign up for it.
Probably not many.
You might be surprised. There are things that they can eat that'll stimulate the testosterone production. You could put together a whole class on this if,
Yeah.
but think about it. Think about how many. Wouldn't it be odd if a lot of women signed up for beard growing classes? Something so absolutely idiotic and
Well, it'd be a lot of
obscure.
male to female transgender people that would sign up for a class like that, I suppose. How is online schooling not a thing? Ask Elephant Man. It is. At
Define
least
on.
here, yeah, here in Florida, you can get your high school diploma online.
Yeah, they've
Not in
they've
like one day or anything. Like you
no.
have the actual, like
You,
you have to
you
actually take the classes, but you can
sure.
do it from
Yeah, there's you
them. At
don't.
least in Florida. I don't know about everywhere
Yeah,
else.
Florida's got a virtual school set up to where you don't ever have to take your child to an actual public school at all, I believe. I
Yeah,
think they've
and you
got it
can.
pretty young
I
now.
think for like standardized tests, you have to go to
No,
like
I think
a
you can, well,
for a standardized test. I know because my mom did online college, but when she had to do her tests, she had to go to the local community college,
right.
schedule something with them, and take it there, like under supervision.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
make sure you don't, you're
they're
not bringing like a cheat sheet with you and all that kind of shit. Yeah,
correct. There may be,
but
for certification and things like that. I mean, we're getting to the point where their open book is not as is becoming more and more accepted. It seems. I don't know.
well,
Because
it's
of the
funny the
online
open book
environment,
thing.
but
The open book thing, it's funny because people actually do worse on those tests than they do if they
it's
have to actually
surprising,
remember the
isn't it?
knowledge. Yeah, because it's like it's right there, it's in front of you. I mean, I guess if you're timed, you're not trying to spend the entire time trying to find one answer, but
Yeah, it's because they don't know how to use a highlighter. It's the little
right.
things. It's the little things. Of course, it's like, well, how do I highlight it? It's online.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know if Midget's still around, but he gave me well didn't give me he let me borrow one of his books to read. It was A World Lit Only by Fire. It was about like medieval history,
right.
and I guess he had read it in college because there was highlighter all throughout
Nice.
the entire book, like highlighter on like specific sentences or phrases or whatever. And I was like, dude, that's really cool. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. It's always good, a lot of times when you that's what you look for in the bookstore. Like when you were still going into a physical bookstore and looking at the physical books, right? You'd look for the
Yeah,
used books and see if somebody had already gone through and highlighted a lot of the stuff that was going to be relevant, and hope that they, you know enough to see if they did a good job of it. Not everybody's
yeah.
good at doing that either.
I
You know.
actually did that when I took the ASVAB. When I was thinking about going into the military,
Uh huh.
was the test sheet that I had gotten had, like, the bubbles were filled out, but then erased, but they weren't all the way erased. So, like, for the sections that I didn't really know what I was doing, like the mechanical sections and things like that, I would just bubble in, like rebubble in the answer if I thought it was close enough to being correct. Like if I absolutely had
Sure.
no idea, I would just bubble in the answer that was previously bubbled in. So I was like, I'm going to get it wrong either way. I might as well, it gives me a statistically higher chance of getting it right, I think. Like, I don't know. Let's see. Large
Is it?
scale replacement. Large scale as a replacement for public school national. I don't think there is one right now, Elephant Man, but that would be cool. I'm down for that. And then Nephilim Ninja says, "Oh no, I just looked. Suspect is white. Family is POC. Wamp wamp. Wait, the suspect is white and the family is POC. Oh, like the judge.
Well, yeah,
I think that's what he's saying.
they're not. They're Latina, Latino.
It's Latinx. I am Latinx.
Um, so, Elephant Man, the thing is, large scale as a replacement for public school on a national level. I hope not. The
I
better
hope there
thing
is
is to
eventually.
leave it at the in the hands of the states.
Right.
Florida has proven, in my opinion, in watching how far their homeschool, Florida virtual school has come.
Yeah.
um, it is amazing what has been set up and allows the kids to do from home as long as
Hmm.
parents, are there to keep them focused and guided, and make use of their downtime because they'll have more of that. It's,
Oh yeah.
I mean, my one of my kids was like loving it. She's like, "This is awesome. I'm at home." But they weren't doing true virtual school. But the upside is in situations like this where schools are being let out, if they have smart classrooms, they can integrate parts of Florida virtual school into the classroom as needed, and thus give an avenue for the kids to be doing it much easier.
Yeah.
Um,
See, Elephant Man says competition is best even in education. I would change that word even to especially. Competition is best, especially in education, in my opinion. I
True.
mean, education is probably one of the most important things you can have as a human being. I mean, without education, I mean, you literally have nothing. I'm not talking about like the institution of education. I'm talking about just education in general.
Sure.
If
But
you don't know how to do anything, if you can't even speak, I mean, that's a form of education, right? Learning how to speak.
right.
If you can't even speak, you can't accomplish pretty much anything.
Well, that's on, well, that's, that there's so much of education that is on the parents to take care of that it's
Yeah,
mind-boggling
it's
in the
not
for
though.
people to comprehend in the present day with so many
Sure.
other things that have to go on, like working and all of these other things that they, busy lifestyles that they have. Um, but, you know, I don't have a problem with competition in education. What I
We
do have a
love
problem
competition.
is if the federal government is one of the competitors. I don't want the federal government to be one of the competitors.
Now, what changed your mind on that?
Well, I understand that school's a necessity and it should be mandatory, but I, I think Florida Virtual School has done a lot for me in looking at this. Even though they still have to succumb to the standardized testing, it's not as bad because the education the kids are getting is in a format that is less obstructed by an educator, if that makes
Hmm.
sense, right? Granted, the data that they're presented, can be controlled, I get
Yeah.
that. But it still incorporates a lot of real world things that you have to go do. So instead of getting your context from a textbook, you
Hmm.
go out in the real world and have an interaction that solidifies a memory and learning,
Right.
right? Um, but when it's all said and done, um, the federal
And
government has it was No Child Left Behind, which was the first catalyst after seeing the repercussions of that have challenged me as far as how our education system needs to be mandated. And before corporations have a chance to come along and buy it up from the federal government. That's the key for me.
yeah.
If it's on the state level, then we have less to worry about from corporations.
Yeah.
I will honestly say that because I don't want education falling into the hands of corporations. Not
Right. Not in the way that you think that it would. I agree with that. I would not like that as well. Um, but what's funny is you're talking about you know kids needing to you know not get context from a textbook, but needing to experience things in the real world, which is absolutely true. And it's a reason why my mom is probably the best teacher that's ever been. Because she did that with her kids when they were learning about like the Revolutionary War, the American Revolution, and she was going over like taxes with them.
mhm,
And so what she ended up doing was she gave each kid like a handful of candy, right? And then she set it up where the principal came in like in the middle of their lesson and just started taking candy from all the kids, like taking like big chunks of their candy from them. And all the kids are like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she's like, "It's tax time," like and just
right?
taking all their candy.
Here
Yeah,
comes the tax man.
yeah, right. So then they were all ready for revolution after that. Yeah, this shit
Um,
was
well,
she was telling that story.
Elephant
Yeah.
Man makes a good point. He says, "I would like to see it if it were regional instead of statewide." Well, the beauty of
Yeah, statewide, I think is still better because
well,
there's a difference between even like Mississippi and Louisiana. You
sure.
know what I mean? Like, and those would be
Wait,
falling under the southeast
well,
region.
well,
There's still a big difference between
y-
those two states. I think a state by state thing would be better than regional.
and now it depends on how you look at regional. Now, if he intended regional to mean like local regional, right? So on a smaller level than that state.
Oh,
So I'm,
smaller level, then yeah.
but I
But
will say,
regional usually means region, right?
right,
Like your
right,
southeast, southwest, or northeast,
right.
northwest,
So, and I'm
central.
not, and it would take, I would ask that clarifying question by regional.
Yeah,
Did you mean within state, regional, or multi-state
right.
regional?
Because
Because
handled by
again,
the
no,
county
I
would be
don't.
even better.
State is as large as I would want it to go, and the beauty of the system that I believe Florida Virtual Schools is taking on is that it is adaptable on a county by county basis. So, each county has their own board of educators that handles
Yeah,
education for that county. Well, they can take their part of Florida Virtual Schools and make it their own for their own county
right.
for parameters, for everything that falls outside the parameters of the standardization test
Hang on
information.
a second, because Elephant Man's asking a question. So you want Miami-Dade dictating your school system? Why would Miami be dictating my school system?
Having an impact on what the state decides.
I mean,
And
they
this,
might have an impact, but I don't understand
sh-
why they would have that
well,
much influence
right.
over
And
the
this is
rest of the state.
this is why I'm saying that it's important to take this to where a county like he's talking about can make Florida Virtual School their own entity, as it
Yeah,
were, right?
yeah, and I'm down for that.
Build on that foundation so that they don't have to impact what we have. The only standardization that has to be met is the federal standardization that any state-funded public schooling system needs to achieve. But outside of that, the county can set their own requirements that they have that are, like I said,
Right.
that fall outside those parameters. Um,
Yeah.
that's the beauty of what can be done with virtual school. And I think
Hmm.
Florida is doing a great job of leading the country and setting that up. There are other states that don't have the kind of
Yeah, of course.
virtual infrastructure that Florida has built over the last, I have to say, 10 to 15 years. So a decade or more, maybe a decade and a half that they've been building this. And it is coming along very nicely. From what I've seen, um, you know,
Yeah.
uh,
So anyway, real quick though, Elephant Man's saying democracy is mob rule. Well, yeah, I mean, definitionally it is. But what does that have to do with Miami-Dade dictating my school system? I don't know. I guess I'm just confused on how that would be the case.
well, like I guess what he's saying is,
I think he's saying it's by
with us,
population or something,
well,
but I don't think
yeah, because it's
it wouldn't be by population. It would be just determined in Tallahassee, not in Miami.
right, but they're the weight of that many voices versus the weight of smaller areas of
Yeah,
the state versus the weight of those voices can have an impact on how
but
educational legislation is put
okay.
forward.
But if Miami was really the say in how Florida swings when it, for voting, I mean, if we look at the Electoral College, if it was Miami, then Florida would be a solid blue state forever, whereas it's actually a swing state.
Right,
So
but I guess
I don't think Miami has as much influence as Elephant Man
well, I
thinks
think he
it
was
does.
using them as an example, not specifically like they're the most influential thing here in Florida. He's just
Well, they're
using that.
certainly the
He
most
just
populated, and I think that's what he was
Sure.
going for.
Well, and
Yeah.
that does have an impact. I mean, that's why we use the Electoral College from a national standpoint because of,
Right.
but
Well,
their
population differences,
Miami-Dade
yeah.
also has their large amount of population is also Latino. And their
Yeah,
educational
Latino.
preferences, what they're going to push for at the state capital level, may vary from what people in more centralized regions of Florida are comfortable with. Things that are going to impact from welfare programs, this, that, and the other, how money's going to be spent. So if it's happening at a state level where you're being mandated,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, those voices carrying those two different flavors of impact, both population and minority, yeah, I could see how that would have an impact on what the state might
Well, then I
approve or
don't know,
not approve.
because then you can say Orlando would be a huge, would have a huge say in that.
It is having more of a say, but remember, Orlando is looked at as a transient population, especially when you
Looked at as
look at
a.
the outlying regions of Orlando. So when you
Hmm.
start getting out, like go out 50, what do you see? You see places like Bithlo and things. Like
Yeah,
there's there's a ring around Orlando as well that is not as urban,
yeah.
for want of a better term. So
I'm even just talking about Orange County though, since we're going by
sure,
counties.
sure,
Yeah,
and that's happening. But I can tell you this: compared to 25 years ago, it's a different landscape too.
sure.
I can honestly say that I've seen that change. So yeah, I get what you're saying, but I can also see how these people would have an impact, which is why it's important
Sure.
to
And I would be fine with
I
going down the
think it,
county
I th-
level.
I think it's important from the standpoint of being able to seek funding as necessary in say loans from the federal government, because of course there's
Uh,
going to be a
great.
infrastructure.
No, those come with hooks and,
Sure, but that,
those
that
come with strings attached.
I'm
Fuck
talking about
that.
states
Fuck
seeking
that.
access to money at the federal
Yeah, that's what
level
I'm
is
saying.
going to
Fuck
happen.
that.
It's going to happen whether you
Fuck
like it or
that.
not, right?
I know, but it's so
So
stupid because then we're just back where we started. Because I mean, they loan you that money under
it
conditions, and
doesn't
those
matter.
conditions are
That's
comply
not
with us. It does.
that's not the point. It's going to happen. But if you get rid of the if you get rid of education at the federal level outside of making loans, specifically loans, not subsidies, but actual loans to states.
Right. It still doesn't matter. They're gonna dictate.
If a state is going to seek an educational loan, it's good for the state to have a broad, overarching reach of all the educational systems so they can show it in one lump sum and then are able to help apportion that money as the counties come forward and ask for their own portions of that money and how they want it spent. So I do think it's important to have the education at that state level. I mean, bureaucracy is going to happen when it comes to
Yeah,
money. I mean,
of
you
course,
can't avoid
always,
that.
always.
But if you minimize the amount of finger that the government has in the pie, you know, yeah, sure, you
Yeah,
may go to them for a loan for money, but they don't have a body sitting around anymore, a body of education trying to tell you how to do things.
yeah. But if you're going to them for money, then they absolutely can and
No, no,
will.
no. That's why I want it to be loans, not subsidies. Because if
Doesn't
it's a
matter.
loan, the interest rate tells you what you can do with that money. Spend it. And the interest rate is going to determine how you pay it back. It's not going to hinge on whether or not you do this.
Okay, it will, but that's
We
fine.
can change that landscape. We can change that if we get rid of the
Doubt it.
Federal Board of Education. Just saying.
Well, yeah. Obviously, we should get rid of the Department of Education, of
The
course.
Department of Education. We get rid of them.
Yeah, of course.
We can change the landscape in how
Mm.
money is transacted for schools to seek support in states.
I'm not optimistic, but maybe.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. Chop down the biggest tree and see what takes root after that.
I guess. But yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here because I gotta piss again. Unless you want to keep going, and then I'll just go piss and we'll come back. Up to you.
Um, oh yeah, no. Go ahead and go ahead and do the spiel because you obviously have a bladder issue tonight, and we've run long anyway. So tell them where
Yeah.
they can find us, John.
Yes, everyone, you can find us down in the description. All of our stuff is there. We have our link for Twitter, which is at the Gen Gap P. We have our Discord link, which is a lot of fun. So I recommend you be there. We've got our brand new subscribe star. So if you like us and you think we're worth $3 to $9 a month, and you want some extra perks with it, go feel free to do that.
I'm
And
worth it.
yeah, we'll be sure to shout you out, of course, the following episode. And yeah, that'll be a lot of fun if you do that. It'll be fun for us to be able to do more shows and stuff if we have some money coming in. But besides that, we also have Freedom Scoop, freedomscoop.com. Where you can find all of our stuff and other such creators as Jay Edgar, who was in the chat earlier. Stephen Ignoramus is over there. Wyatt from Roundtable Decision, he's over there. Already Conservative is over there. And the Freckles and Brick Show is now over there as well. So make sure you guys go over there. You can check them all out in one place. It's nice and convenient. And while you're over there, if you're feeling like you want to buy some new attire or a new mug to bring into work, we've got T-shirts and we've got mugs. So that would be really cool if you bought one or both of those as well.
I
Uh,
recommend it.
I recommend it as well. And to help you out with that decision, if you put in the code GenGap at checkout, you'll get 15% off your purchase. So consider that.
It's good for the environment too. I'm just saying.
It's good for your local John and Robert as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, the cup, for instance. I mean, it holds water. Just think of all the water bottles
Right.
you don't have to throw away if you're
Think of
using
all
one of
think
our
of all the
cups.
laws you can break by collecting rainwater and your official generational gap mug.
Is that against the law somewhere?
It is, yeah. It's
Wow.
against the law, yeah. It's a federal offense.
Shut up.
Yeah, collecting rainwater. Can't do it. I'm not even joking about it.
That
You
sounds
can't.
like hokum. You're gonna have to prove that
No.
to me on our next show or sometime. But till then, we are going to be back on Friday, and we're going to have Jessica. She's going to be stopping by, hanging out with us for a couple of hours, and talking some smack. And hopefully, she'll put John in his place a couple of times, and that'll be fun. But we will be here at 8:30 on Friday for that show, and then of course we'll be back again next Monday, following for our next Shootin the Sh&t episode. Both of those that'll be at 9:30. Both of those are going to be in Eastern Time, the one and only true time zone. We had it first. John,
That's right.
thanks for dropping by tonight, folks. Thanks for all your lovely chat this evening. Hopefully we didn't bore you completely to tears. Because well, that's not true. I hope you were brought to tears because your tears are salty and they make me smile. uh,
True.
Outside of that, I ain't got much else to say, John. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Have yourself a great
Yep.
night, sir. Peace.
All right. See you guys.